Hey everyone, this is Will from Beijing, China, and welcome to this brand new and exciting episode of The Missing Piece. Now, in reality today, for some parts of the world, the pandemic has not gone away yet. As a matter of fact, people are still struggling not only emotionally, but also physically. Now, if you follow the news that you know, one of the major cities in China, which is Shanghai, is well known for its fast development in economy and also this international relationship across the continent. But the sad news that we want to say is this city right now, it's still battling with the pandemic. And as a matter of fact, not only the Chinese people living in Shanghai, but also the international communities are also facing the same dilemma. I have to say that throughout the pandemic, that I was fortunate to connect with people who were able to encourage me or able to teach me how to encourage myself to become better, to see the positive side. But meanwhile, it's difficult to send the positive vibes to ourselves all the time, and let alone talking to our neighbors. So that's why today, it's my great honor that I want to bring two special guests to join our show. And keep in mind, both of them, they're located in Shanghai right now. In this episode, Will does not just want to talk about the pandemic, but we want to see how the two people from different backgrounds, different nationalities, but they're doing one thing in common, is to encourage the citizens of the world and to bring the positivity through the media or through social media 24/7. So ladies and gentlemen, please, again, allow me to welcome our guests. And Terry and Cassie, welcome to The Missing Piece. Now let's start with Terry. Would you please tell us a little bit about who you are and what brought you to Shanghai at the first place?
Well, okay, that's a very long story, actually, Will. So I've been here nearly 20 years, so I don't think we're going to go back that far. So I mean, look, yeah, I'm Irish, Irish-British dual nationality, but Shanghai is my home. I've been here a long time, and what brought me here was just opportunity a long time ago. I'm an executive coach. Try to motivate people. I try to motivate people every day with the content I put out. I'm also a trainer, facilitator, and I'll talk about anything that anybody wants me to talk about, basically. I think that's called a keynote speaker. But yeah, whatever anybody needs me to do to help in terms of positivity, motivation, and things like that. And I really try to work with clients to help them get towards their goals. In a nutshell.
Thank you, Terry. Now, Cassie, of course, that we know each other for a while, and I know, again, as I mentioned in the intro, you are also located in Shanghai. So can you tell us a little bit that, you know, your background and also what brought you to Shanghai initially?
Oh, yeah. I'm basically a researcher in economics, and I moved to Shanghai last year to continue my PhD studies here at one of the institution in Shanghai. And so it's also originally I'm from Beijing, so it's very there's cultural shock to me as well as a new Shanghaier. And also for me, it's a totally new experience, because right after 6 months after I moved here, I ran into this pandemic lockdown. So I'm still trying to navigate myself out of just to find my way here. Yeah, that's me.
Well, yeah. You know, I always say people on my show, again, not only that you have rich experience in life, but also clearly that both Terry and Cassie, you're equally smarter than who I am. But anyway, let's get to the questions right away. All right. You know, again, as we discussed before the pandemic, I think for Shanghai, it came as a big surprise that no one ever expected that one of the major cities, and of course, Shanghai is very famous, again, domestically, but internationally. But today, Shanghai has been facing the full lockdown more than a week, or even, I can't remember how many days or how many weeks. So I want to start with the first question, and the simple question is, what was your initial reaction, and when you got notified the first place that the pandemic is coming back to Shanghai, and what was your reaction? Were you ready to face the lockdown? Were you ready to start this until this limitation of your life? So Terry, let's start with you.
It's a really good question. I don't think anybody was prepared for it, Will. I mean, we've had experience of it from 2020, right? This is, I think, worse than 2020. And to be prepared for it, no, it's not possible. So I'm in Puxi, and we were told it's only going to be 4 days, so we prepared for 4 days, right? But I've always had extra food, extra tins and stuff anyway. But what really surprised me was how it's got out of control so quickly, right? I mean, we've never experienced anything like this in living memory. Nobody, right? Nobody. And as you said, this is one of the most amazing, one of the most powerful, one of the most important cities in the world. And for this to happen, you know, none of us really know how to cope with continued social distancing, self-isolation, being away from people. And I think while we intellectually can acknowledge some of the measures, actually dealing with them day to day is actually the challenge, because it's on and on and on. And just before this call, I was coaching a client, and he's been locked down for a month, and I can really feel that he's something's going to snap. He's only 23, and he's just graduated, and he's really feeling it. He's not from Shanghai either, and it's, you know, it's like staying away from everything and everyone we know. It's just really difficult, right? And it's scary, and it's not knowing when it's going to end. And so I'll tell you something about the British and the Irish. If you tell us it's 10 days, we'll go, all right, it's 10 days, fine. But then we expect to be out at the 10 days, right? Because you've told us it's 10 days, but then it's right. Oh no, it's another. So I should have been. 2 days ago was the end of my first 7 days, so 7 plus 7, qi, right? So I should have been allowed out of the compound just to walk around the building. That's right. My building is not attached to anything. There's no other building, right? You cannot come into our building. Our building is so low risk, there is no volunteers to bring us anything. We go downstairs and get our own goods. But it's just like, we still don't know. We still don't know. You can't go out. You can't go out. Why? You can't go out. So if you tell me why, I can understand it. So from a Western point of view, even though I've been here a long time, from a Western point of view, it's, if you explain to me the reason and it's logical why, then I'm all right. But we are in, again, one of the biggest cities in the world, and we are fighting to get food. It's not that we can't afford it. That's right. We can afford the food. But people are up at 5 a.m., right? Trying to win an order, and then being charged 200 RMB by a courier to deliver some cabbage. So that's what we're not prepared for. And sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but what's also surprised me is a friend who's been here 9 years left yesterday. He's gone. He's not coming back. He's gone to Singapore to work. And I just found out that 2 more friends who've been here a long time are leaving 1st of May, and they're never coming back. They've lived here a long time. This is their home, and they're never coming back. And I think that will happen with a lot of people.
I think it's rather heartbroken to see that how, again, this one pandemic actually is changing our relationship. Now, Cassie, let's go to you. Again, we know each other for a long time, and I follow you on social media. Now, Terry briefly touched on the word call to volunteer. You know, again, it was so frustrating for someone, you know, again, who's not Chinese, but just want to know the reason why I am not allowed to go out. But on the social media, Cassie, you posted pictures that not only that you also face this lockdown, but you volunteered to join the community service. And can you share with us what prompted you to make that decision at the first place? And the second is, throughout the entire experience, is there or was there anything that was so surprising or something that's you were not prepared to see when you were doing this job? Can you help us to understand a little bit?
Well, again, I really feel the same way that Terry just described because, well, let me start from the very beginning because actually our neighborhood were closed way before the whole lockdown of the city. So actually I stayed home like longer. And maybe because by nature I'm a calm person, also I'm Chinese, so I don't have very high expectations of things. So I know, okay, there might be some, very strict measures coming down, but still, like Terry just said, no one expected it to be so difficult that we feel like we travel back in time like 30 or even 50 years because we cannot find like to meet our basic needs. And so that's also why I chose to not just to help others. It's really to help ourselves out. I mean, because really depend on the situation, really depend on which part of the city you live in. Because city still like one of the main reasons why we have so much difficulty in logistics and the supply chain of goods is because Shanghai is still operated with very strict district borderlines. So we can't really get food from another district to our place. And also there's all sorts of restrictions. And because of that, and we don't get any like delivery person or like community service really to help us out. And luckily, in my neighborhood, the population structure is younger. So we, as younger people, we know how to use those apps, how to buy food online, and how to make contacts. So we sort of, we can't just see like the elderlies and the children. And also there are underserved communities. There's still a cleaning lady who live in our building, and she's taking care of the, taking out the trash and everything. And she has been home since 2020, since the beginning of this pandemic. And also there are other people like her. There are very sad news where, because the cleaning ladies or like other stuff were found positive, and then people, they can't go back to their homes and they sort of have to sleep in the garage or in their cars. So when you see all that kind of things, you feel like at least I still have money to buy food. I'm still capable of doing my job like online. So I feel like we're all in the same community. Like whether you are a foreigner, you're a Chinese, or whether you believe in the current regulations or like you're pessimistic or whatever. And it's like we really need to prioritize to make our life better or like make people safer,
I really appreciate that both of you touch on something that is, since we cannot change the situation and we might as well try to figure out the way to adapt into this condition. Now, Terry, I got a next question to you. I know, again, going back to social media, you post every day. Again, there's something that I really encourage everyone to connect with Terry and on the social media channel, is you send this positive vibes and you send this daily positive video, and to not only to the people you know, but also perhaps that can be seen by the people that who don't know you. But meanwhile, coming back to Cassie, you mentioned that it doesn't matter if you're Chinese or if you're non-Chinese, and we're all in this together. So that brought me to the next question related to the word identity. Terry, you are a life coach. Throughout the pandemic, it's so difficult today to define the word identity. So in other words, to understand who we are and our weaknesses and our strength and something that we don't know about ourselves. So let's go to Terry again. The question, how would you define the word identity today from your perspective? Again, either in the midst of the pandemic or as a non-Chinese resident living in China. And then the same question to Cassie is, how would you define yourself today as a Chinese national, but you are experiencing this international crisis at the same time? Let's start with Terry.
Is it still an international crisis when every other country is opening up? That's the question, first of all. Um, Identity. I mean, look, I've been here a long time, so it's quite a difficult question for me as well. I mean, I live here. I don't. I'm not going to leave, even under this current situation. I live here. This is my home, and I'm sort of half Chinese, I guess. But the identity side is, it doesn't matter right now if you are foreign or you're Chinese or you're whatever. We're all in exactly the same situation, as Cassie said. And I've seen a lot of people are coming together and really helping each other. And something that annoys me on the news is where it goes like the Shanghai Daily, a foreigner helping, a foreigner helping, a foreigner helping, a foreigner helping. They're not helping to get on the news. They're helping in their Xiaoqu because they need to help.
Wow.
Because either there's not enough people, or they've lived here a long time, or they genuinely want to help. Look, there's still in society here. I'm here 20 years. I'm still Lao Wai. I'm always going to be Lao Wai, right? Always. Doesn't matter. I will always be a Lao Wai, right? And that's whatever differentiate that's made in society. But I don't see that. Right? I'm going to help this person. I'm going to help this person. I live here. I pay my tax here. I go to hospital here. I eat here. I do things here. So for me, this is my home. And anyone that's helping wants to help genuinely because they want to help. So the question of identity for me is I don't see myself as a foreigner, and I don't see myself as Chinese completely. I see myself with a foot in each side. And I know a lot of people like that have been here a long time as well. I mean, this is our home. Yeah.
Thank you, Terry. Cassie, what about you?
Well, about identity. Well, I think we really, on an individual level, we need to rethink the notion of identity, because I'm an economist, and also in politics or in sociology, we talk about identities all the time. But when you come down to like person to person level, I feel like it's the important thing is not to let others define your identity. Like Terry said, like in other people's eyes, he's just a Lao Wai. But what matters is that how do we see ourselves?
Exactly.
And like whether it's a religious identity, your belief, or just as a person, you have your values and you want to act like out of your conscience. Like you really. I think that's what matters. And also one tricky part is that Shanghai is, super international, but not the majority of like Chinese cities. And so perhaps there is a mismatch of the mainstream social media. And, not only Shanghai people are there, like there are people from other parts of China who are not so used to having foreigners living close to each other, and so they don't know how to really rationalize, or really they're not used to the thoughts. So if we just, at least for the moment, to put aside the difference, and I know you showed me the videos about whatever, like people don't like foreigners having privileges, and I think first of all, like I don't feel any like privileges for foreigners. Well, even if they were, really, I don't think anyone who received the benefits should be proud of it. But we shouldn't blame them either. The important thing is that you use all the resources to do the right thing and to bring out more good for more people. Yeah.
Terry, I noticed that as Cassie was explaining or was sharing that you were nodding along. Anything you would like to add on, or anything you would like to comment on?
Yeah, foreign privileges, I don't know what they are. I don't know what these foreign privileges are. Maybe there's some tax breaks, but then the people that get those tax breaks don't get social care. They're not allowed to buy houses. They can't get bank loans. They can't get credit cards, right? Even if you have a permanent residence, you get a Chinese permanent residence, you still can't use it on Alipay, you still can't use it on WeChat to verify your identity. So for a couple of 100,000 people that maybe get some tax breaks, there's a lot of other things that they don't get. So if you went to live in the UK for 5 years, you would get a passport, citizenship, and every single thing that everybody gets. So let's not get, I don't want to get political here because I live here and it's fine, but there's so many things you cannot do. And without those privileges, a lot of the big CEOs, a lot of the big companies would not be here. So there would be a detriment to the economy. So imagine when the car companies first came and started setting up car manufacturing. If these guys weren't getting tax breaks and stuff, they wouldn't have been here. And of course now the local manufacturers are taking over, so that's fine. That's what happens. You know, local takes over after, and obviously, Cassie, you're an economist. Eventually, the local business manufacturers will take over. But if you didn't have these privileges, which are not privileges, so none of us can go outside right now. None of us can get food. Doesn't matter who's a foreigner. Doesn't matter who's local. Yes, some foreigners might be in a slightly better position financially than maybe an elderly Chinese person, but they didn't choose their salary, and they don't choose what pension the elderly person gets. They didn't create that. So it's that's a good thing on identity. It's a good point actually, Cassie, because some people see this, you see this person getting this, and then you see this person getting that, and then I want that, and it works on both sides. It's like I know somebody always go, "Oh, you're a foreigner, you're rich," and then my friend would always go, "I don't have 3 Rolls Royces and 5 houses." The guy that's next to me has 3 Rolls Royces and 5 houses. But you can then say that if you're in the UK as well, somebody else has 3 Rolls Royces, right? So every society around the world has these disparities, and I think in times like this it gets amplified because we are all. The fear now is the fear of being out of control and not being able to not tolerate, but not understanding what's going on. And that's creating anxiety for people. It's, can I get out tomorrow? Can I get out? Can I do this? Can I do that? And that's where we can't control these external factors. Now, I always say to people, and I don't always get it right. I have bad days as well. You know, I try to motivate people, but I have bad days, right? But I probably have better tools to get over these bad days. But you just got to try and get on with what you can get on with. These external factors, you can't go outside. Okay, complain about it a little bit. Have a chat with your friends. Have a chat with your family. Get it out. Complain about it, and then move on because you're not getting out. But what can you do? What can you control? I can talk to 2 amazing people in the evening, like you guys, or I can read a book. I can listen to some music. I can just dance around my apartment naked if I want to, right? Just go and do something. I can control that. And that's how you can control your anxiety. And I actually did leave our building group chat because it's getting ridiculous. There's a lot of tension. No, there's a lot of tension. A lot of tension coming, right? Okay. I'm not between foreigners and Chinese, just between everyone, right? Because there's not many foreigners in my building. This is where and people don't have the tools to control because mental health and anxiety is still taboo.
That's right.
In our society here, right?
That's right.
So people don't really have tools to cope with it. Sorry, I hope that answered the question. Sorry,
yes.
I tend to babble and digress. Sorry.
No problem. No, I mean that's why I have this conversation, and that's why I say 3 of us, sit down virtually to build this conversation. Again, as I was listening to both of you sharing, that reminds me, and something it's so critical that we also need to address.